I mean, if you bought a $50,000 package, you come on our podcast.
Yeah. Oh, that's part of the package.
Yeah, this is part of the package. Yeah, you get an appearance on the YLB podcast.
Yeah. Can't guarantee you that there won't be a clickbaity title next to your face. Like, I paid $50,000 to see Taylor Swift.
We're being fully upfront. Part of the package. You buy that, you can verify it. You will come on our podcast as a guest.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
It's the end of the week episode.
Yeah. Interesting week it's been.
Yeah, interesting week.
Yeah.
We finally revealed the special guest in our previous episode that we were teasing for like a few days.
Yeah.
Because it happened pretty quickly.
Yeah. We had Minister Shanmugam on for those of you who didn't know to talk about very sensitive issue, Israel-Hamas as well.
Yeah.
Amongst other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that was a big episode right for us in terms of the topic we wanted to cover, who we are getting on to talk about it. And yeah, just in terms of us, in terms of organizing, getting it together to happen as well.
Yeah. And I mean, as always, if you have thoughts on it, hopefully it is a thought-provoking episode. We want to do more of such conversations in future, but just let us know your thoughts, man.
Yeah.
But apart from that, Terence, how was the week? And don't talk about the weather.
I was going to. I was just about to.
What about? It's the same what?
Yeah, but it's shook. So it's shook.
Terence, now even I'm thinking like, okay, Terence, you get really nothing else that happened this week.
Because you're old already. You're old. You're like so jaded by all these things. I'm trying to look at it with a fresh pair of eyes every time.
I mean, someone did a poll on Reddit talking about whether we should stop or not. I think it was fairly divided.
But majority still yes.
Yeah, still worth talking about.
Yeah, it's worth talking about.
Yeah. But I mean, it's been rainy. It's been nice.
Yeah.
And today's episode is a change, It's a change in some way.
Yeah.
And why, Terence?
Just like the weather.
Yeah.
I think December is a time of change, and reflection. So actually, every year, something that we've been doing is I look back at the year, right? And now it's already December, so we thought, okay, why not get started early,
Yeah.
So I think this episode is the kickstarting that retrospective kind of like looking back 2023 and seeing what the big things that people talked about But this one in particular has a particular theme to it right?
Yeah. It's basically episodes that triggered people, including ourselves, because of some sort of questionable accountability and a lack of transparency and the reason why that focus is also because we are working with an awesome partner, Lendela. Yeah. So for those of you who are not familiar with Lendela, they are a lending comparison service that helps you find the best personal loan in Singapore, tailored to you, Terence.
Yeah.
Tailored to you. It's not like your normal comparison sites where they just send you tell you the advertised rates. Basically, Lendela comes up with it strips away all the bells and whistles and shows you the final advertised rate based on your profile. But there's a reason why we're working with them specifically.
Correct.
And Terence, would you like to give a bit of context?
Talking about accountability and transparency, 2023 was also the year that we went public with our story about our hook production, She's a Terrorist and I Love Her, and how we basically got screwed over by the whole process of liquidation as well, right, of the corporation. In some sense, we went public with a lot of details about the financial struggles that we went through because of that, right? Including, taking loans to pay off people who had worked, other freelancers and all who had worked on our production. So I think we were quite fearful and quite embarrassed about talking about all these things money related, right? Because in our Asian culture, you talk about money it's not the easiest thing, right? But surprisingly, I think the response to the article and everything that we talked about was very good, right? In the sense that people are very supportive and really trying to find ways to help us. And one of the people that reached out from us was the folks at Lendela, right? Because I think the idea that we came forward and talked about our experience of taking a loan, and
personal loan,
and also just talking about how the lack of accountability and transparency from a business really hurt us also, right? I think that really resonated with them because that's a lot of what was the principles driving their business. So they started to talk to us to say, hey, can we work together on something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it was nice because, like we always tell our listeners and viewers that if you want to work with us, reach out at contact at Ministry of Finance. And this is an example of a partnership that came out of that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, when we were thinking about how to work with them, we came up with this idea because, like what Terence said, we always do our yearly reviews, which we will do the final week of December about in general. But this one specifically because feels like this year there were a lot of topics that triggered a lot of people.
Correct.
So we're going to do a countdown of the
top five.
Top five Top 5 most listened to episodes of ours that had to deal with stuff that was triggering.
And due to a lack of transparency.
Due to a lack of transparency.
Yeah.
And I mean, get ready to relive some trauma. But we also would appreciate it a lot if all of you listening could just help us with a short survey where we're just going to ask you like 3 questions. So it'll take you like 2 minutes. And the first question is essentially, after you listen to us joke about these 5 topics, we just want to know which one triggered you the most. Yeah, like if you just imagine, like even when listening to us, if your blood is like curdling and all right, just answer the survey. And what can they win, Terence?
A $50 shopping voucher.
Yeah, five of
them. Five of them will win. So I think since we're talking about transparency, the idea of this is that we want to really understand how this podcast, how you guys feel about us talking about this podcast, and I think even for our partner Lendela to also understand how people's feelings are when they listen to this, even though it's like we mentioned, can be quite triggering in certain ways, right?
Yeah.
But just understanding your responses would really, really help us and help our partner to understand, like working with a podcast like Yala, but how that actually works for them. So for all those people who've been really supporting us this year, I think this is one way that we can really get your support, is to show a very clear response to someone who is eager to work with us, right?
Yeah.
Like Lendela. Show them that you enjoyed this episode and tell us your thoughts about it also.
Yeah. Really, yeah. If you've been wanting to find a way to support us, now is the time, my friend.
Yeah. Won't cost you anything. In fact, you might even win
$50 shopping vouchers. 5 of you, which we'll release the names of in 2 weeks. So if you could fill up the survey in the next week, that'll be great.
Yeah.
And the link to the survey is in the show notes. So please check it out. It's all there. All right, cool. Terence, so shall we start with the 5th most listened to podcast concerning a triggering transparency issue?
Yes. And how are these ordered actually?
Just in terms of listens.
Oh, yeah. So there is at least a little bit of an order to it. It's not like we randomly decided.
Correct. And this is quite nostalgic because this was the format of our first live show. The one at National Gallery, where we also reviewed the top 10 most listened to episodes of the year.
Yeah.
The previous year.
Yeah.
So coming in 5th place.
Yes.
This is episode 459, actually quite recent. It's the one about Shanmugam disputing the Straits Times Israel-Hamas op-ed and MBS launching 10K Taylor Swift concert packages.
And I think we're focused on the second topic.
Nothing
to do with Shanmugam and all that, right?
Yeah. So this was a topic that, I remember when we were covering it, it was essentially how it felt like what goes into these packages, right? And we've had some people respond saying that, hey, certain the Piazza suite, if you spend 5K a year, something you automatically get upgraded.
I think it's basically there's different membership tiers within MBS itself.
Yeah.
So if you bought the $50,000 Taylor Swift MBS concert package, I think you get a free 6-month upgrade to the Paisa level of membership.
Yeah.
Which, interestingly enough, people on our subreddit actually came forward and really went into details to explain what you have to spend to achieve each level of the membership, right? So all this you can actually really take our word for it. If you don't take our word for it, don't take our word for it, but just go to the Reddit and look up the comments to this particular episode, and you'll see that people break down how much you should spend and what you get for free as part of that membership.
Yeah.
So I think in this episode we spent quite a bit of time thinking about the value of what the 10K package versus the 50K Taylor Swift package would bring for you.
Yeah.
And another thing I learned is about the price of the suites as well, right?
Which was how much?
I think I don't know the exact figure, but it almost makes the 50K one.
It's about 1,000 plus per night. The cheapest suite at MBS.
Yeah. So it almost makes the 50K package maybe more value for money because there's like literally for 4 people, right? Versus the 10,000, which is only for 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why if you now as the dust has settled, why did this trigger you?
I think it triggered us because of the not say lack of transparency, right? But maybe in some ways that you don't exactly know what you're getting out of the whole thing. I mean, they do list it there.
Yeah.
But like, in terms of the membership, the different membership tiers and how much that is worth and how much exactly that is worth, you don't really know. You just know it's part of this grander package that costs 50K more. And I think the triggering part, maybe not so much about the lack of transparency, but it's that it's not something that is catered to us, right? Sour grapes a bit. Yeah.
So it means the triggering thing is less about the transparency per se, but just that you it's not your cup of tea.
It's not directed at us, and it makes gives you that feeling of like, things in Singapore are really just more for tourists and everything than for the locals.
Yeah.
But again, I think what we will spend a lot of time trying to do is to just sift through even what they lay out as what you get, what you're paying for, right? Sift through and better understand just on a item by item basis. Are you getting your money's worth? Because I think that's a lot of times that's what transparency is about, right? You just put it out there, rather than use flowery language to dress it up and everything.
Yeah. I mean, we did find out that you get a sampan right?
Yeah.
The sampan right.
Sampan right, yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, we've also had some people come forward and explain, the sampan right as part of like the paisa, is it?
I think the membership, the membership you get like free sampan right every month. Yeah.
Free sampan right.
Yeah.
But since then, right, like in terms of the transparency also, I actually found that the whole Taylor Swift thing is so manic, right? Because she's coming in March, is it?
Is it March?
Yeah, I think March, because Coldplay's coming in January. There is now a crowdsourced Google spreadsheet where people are using to trade, sell, or buy. Because there have been so many things on Carousel where people have been scammed and all. Like this spreadsheet, it's like there are 50, like almost 100 people who have put down that they have these tickets, and they are looking to swap for another day's tickets.
I see.
So basically, there's a column for holding, looking for additional notes. So I was like, hey, shit, this is a crowdsourced attempt at being honest. Yeah, which I found quite interesting. And I mean, like, I don't know, the whole Taylor Swift thing. Next year actually a bunch of concerts.
Coldplay, Taylor Swift.
Jerry Seinfeld apparently coming next June.
Jerry Seinfeld coming, I heard,
So interesting. I think when Taylor Swift comes, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, the crazy thing is that they are coming for like a long period, more than like a
exactly.
week plus. It was like a residency, like it feels like it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we should reach out to imagine if she comes on our podcast.
Oh yeah.
I think we'd have to like mortgage our houses or something.
It'll be a riot. Why mortgage your house? I don't understand.
You think she'll come for free?
Oh, you mean in terms of paying her to appear? No, I was thinking more like the security and everything, and just people just be chasing her down and paparazzi and all that.
In our building.
Exactly.
I mean, we had Shanmugam already, so
yeah. Security wise, we're good.
That's why we're good.
We're clear.
All right.
But I mean, if anyone has I would love to be able to talk, or at least like just get a sense of if anyone actually bought these packages. If anyone has already bought these packages, or someone who has bought these packages, I think let us know, because that would be insane to be able to understand what value people are getting out of this.
I mean, if you bought a $50,000 package, you come on our podcast.
Yeah. Oh, that's part of the package.
Yeah, that's part of the package. Yeah, you get an appearance on the YLB podcast.
Yeah. Well, I can't guarantee you that there won't be a clickbaity title next to your face. I paid $50,000 to see Taylor Swift.
Yeah. But that is part of the package. Correct. We're being fully upfront. Part of the package. You buy that, you can verify it. You will come on our podcast as a guest.
Yeah.
Alamak.
Yeah.
Oh, good deal.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Then, the next most listened to episode that triggered people was episode 448. This was like a double whammy, man.
Yeah.
It was the one about the DBS services being down and all the major disruptions, as well as the news that Flash Coffee is quitting Singapore.
Yeah, Flash Coffee, the big tech-enabled coffee chain, right?
Yeah.
That opened in a flash, pun intended, in Singapore.
Yeah.
And also left in a flash, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, both these topics were quite triggering for people, right? Even today, a month plus removed from the DBS outage, I think people still talk about it, right? They talk about how memories of how they couldn't pay for stuff that day. There's articles since then about how people were carrying around tin cans and piggy banks with them to pay for stuff at NTUC and things.
Yeah.
It's quite funny, right?
And one of our listeners actually put on Reddit that she was a bridesmaid during that weekend for a wedding.
God.
And it legitimately affected some people. Can you imagine? If like during my wedding last year, if there was an outage, right?
Yeah.
I'll be damn pissed off.
The number of ang pao you get.
Because I have totally like withdrawn on the day itself.
Yeah.
Right? And then if they can't pay, like to chase them also,
Correct.
not say you sold them something and they owe you, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if like a week later, hey Terrence, how are you, man? Just wanted to follow up about the ang pao that you couldn't give me last week.
Yeah.
It just also feels like shit, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
So since then, I've put my money where my mouth is.
Uh,
I've started to carry cash on me again. Like, like chunks of cash.
you mean
on
for
me.
a while you went cold turkey?
Yeah, cold turkey, zero
No cash at all.
For a long time, in fact, I would say, But now, I carry I don't know, 50 to 100. I mean, don't rob me, but $50 to $100 on me at all times. Because
Be transparent, Terrence. How
I'm
much money you carry?
50 to 100
50 to 100,
depending.
okay.
Because it's just a matter of like literally I have to fold the notes up to put it in my little slim wallet, So it has really led to a bit of a lifestyle change that way,
I mean, I think it's more reinforced because as much as I'm all about like the apps and shit, right? I've actually always been carrying money,
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm quite surprised that you say you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't. To me, it's like it should be a binary thing, lah. If you promise that cashless future, then you back up the cashless future, lah.
Apparently, even last Friday itself, 1st December, there was an unexpected outage.
Yeah. But I didn't hear much about it though. Do you hear anything about it?
No, I'm just seeing some articles, and I guess when the outage happened, it was a black box, lah.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why even in the days following, like when we spoke about it, it was around the premise of like, okay, like all we know is that there was some overheating at the data center.
Yeah.
That was all we got, lah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the measures that they've announced since are that I think like DBS is not allowed to have new acquisitions for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And I think the management said that, it will be reflected in management compensation, to reflect the poor service standards, right?
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, my big issue was like, they just kept consumers in the dark when it happened. There was no there seems to be no protocol for like informing people that the services are down. Please find alternative measures or ways of doing things, right? Because
or even like an SMS or something.
Yeah, an SMS or even on the app itself when you're trying to log in. All we kept getting was like, the service is there's a high volume of people logging at this time. Please try again later, rather than telling you like, hey, give us 6 hours and we'll get back to you, give us how many hours, and we'll have an update. Then you have to go to Facebook and look up the DBS page and everything and see all the angry comments and how people were stuck in car parks, couldn't get out of car parks and things like that.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think just, I don't know, man, like, it's just not encouraging because even the one like last week, apparently it was like delays because high traffic from customers checking their balance at the start of the month. So it just feels like when you hear that as a customer, I don't know, man. Like I've had some issues logging into the app since this big outage also, and it just by having this unanswered questions, it just makes you lose confidence, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Flash, right?
Correct.
Flash announced that they were closing, and I think like the union in Singapore, like NTUC, I guess, was trying to fight for some sort of payment for the final wages for
I think it's the Food and Drinks Allied Workers Union.
Yeah, correct. And don't know, like they're not clear what has happened since then, right?
Yeah, I think there was the liquidators meeting lah.
Yeah.
And they just laid out all who were the secured and unsecured creditors. But the plan of payment, I'm not very sure yet. Especially for the employees, lah, right? I feel the worst ones you have to feel for are the employees, lah, right?
Yeah.
Initially said that, I think they were so angry, they said they were going on strike. But actually the truth was that they shut down. Lah. No, the cafe just shut down entirely. Lah. Yeah.
And I mean, like, even this whole coffee thing, like this past week was Miracle Coffee, which is JJ Lin's coffee coming up. Do you know?
I think he's had a couple of
pop-ups
in like MBS and stuff like that. Last few months.
Yeah. But the thing about Flash Coffee, it's just damn sad because since then, on one hand, you're seeing like all the old fogies like kind of close out, even Spinelli. Spinelli also closed, and all these new companies coming out. But with regards to Flash, it's kind of like similar to Hook lah. You know, they do this kind of like assholic shit, and there's almost nothing that happens to them lah.
Yeah,
right,
correct.
So it's, I mean, next year feels like there's going to be more of similar things kind of happening, but it's just like the reason also was not very clear.
Yeah, I mean, just business not doing well, and then they're still focusing on the other markets and saying that Hong Kong and all are still okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, when we talk about lack of accountability, lack of transparency, we've been through that process of liquidation, being creditors on liquidations, and we can tell you it's a deep, dark black hole for all the creditors involved, right? Yeah,
exactly. And it's just even talking through that, especially because now the cost of living, it is on everyone's minds.
Yeah.
Right. So I can imagine if you're an employee there, it's just not knowing. I guess not knowing is the worst thing.
Yeah.
It's like basically that outage that happened with DBS.
Correct.
Not knowing, you just feel like shit.
Yeah.
And do you also sometimes feel that when you go on runs, right? Or like walks or anything, or when you are going to a point and coming back always feels easier?
Yeah. It's a real thing. Yeah.
It's a real thing.
As in, I think it's a psychological thing. Like,
because you know the end, right?
Yeah.
It's when you don't know the end.
It feels very long, right?
Yeah.
It feels much longer.
Yeah, it feels much longer.
Yeah.
And that was the 5th and 4th in terms of listens.
Yes.
So before we move on to the 3rd, we have a little reminder about our dear partner Lendela.
Yeah.
So I mean, did you know of Lendela before they approached us?
No, actually. I mean, I've heard of them, but not. I think what I realized was that I probably had the misconception about what they do,
which was what?
Which I thought they were loan providers themselves. But turns out actually they're really just a loan comparison platform, right? Where they themselves don't underwrite the loan to anybody.
Yeah. And I mean, I know when I was taking the loan for my HDB, even though that is a loan from a bank, I mean, Lendela focus on personal loans. I know there are many use cases why you could need personal loans, but I think anytime you're taking a loan of some sort, there's a lot of fine print, right? So even for the loans we took for Hook, for that Hook shebang, it's just about how much you pay a month, how much interest you're getting, and it's just there are so many things that could throw you off. So what Lendela does, it's you basically apply once, and based on your profile, even using SingPass, they will basically go through all the clutter and tell you exactly how much you have to pay. Which now looking back, I remember getting the housing loan, going through the options was so difficult because you almost don't know how much you're going to pay.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the good thing is that as the consumer, you are getting the final amount that you would have to pay.
Yeah.
And there's no real T and C's.
Yeah.
And it's all free.
Yeah. And as far as I know, Lendela uses a reverse auction model.
Yeah.
So the reverse auction meaning that the lowest offer wins, right? With I think they have more than 40 banks and lenders that actually bid for your business, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you really get a wide swath of options.
Yeah. And I mean, basically, helping you keep those customers accountable, which was a big theme in the 3rd most listened episode.
Yes.
About triggering topics.
Yes.
And what episode is that, Terrence?
That was episode 434. Kinderlearn and ECDA address alleged child abuse, and Ho Ching pictures caning diners who cheat.
I guess this one is the first. No, actually, it's somewhat of the second one also.
But
it's
mostly
more
the first.
Yeah, mostly the first.
Yeah.
Kinderlearn and ECDA addressed the alleged child abuse. Why was that not a transparent thing?
I think it was because, remember, I think the whole incident happened and then there were videos leaked by a whistleblower, an ex-employee of Kinderlearn themselves, who leaked videos of a teacher who was allegedly abusing the children. And I think people were very shocked by the kinds of videos that came out of children being tied down to chairs, of being force-fed water, of being beat on their legs and buttocks. And I think that triggered a big reaction from not just parents, but a lot of people, right, seeing that this was wrong. But I think the response from the school after that was actually was worse, right? It took quite a while even to get that particular teacher suspended, from duty, and there just seemed like there was a lot of there was almost like a concerted effort to stop whistleblowing rather than stopping abuse within the school. I think they instituted teachers cannot use
phones and all,
and all in the school, which was what the whistleblower used to record the videos, right? So I think lack of transparency is one thing, in terms of transparency in how you deal with cases of abuse like this. But the worst part is when you are actively trying to stop people from, holding others accountable. That's what rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Yeah, because like she did try everything she could to raise it up, right?
Yeah. Or at least that's just what she said she did, right?
Yeah,
Going to management and everything, and it's just stuff wasn't happening, so she just felt like she had to go public with it.
But now you have a kid, so in the space of parents and kids, did you hear any thoughts about this that since then?
No, I mean, everyone was appalled, and I think all schools actually somewhat reacted to this news, right?
Yeah.
And some had to even write their own letters to parents. Some school chains, I know the principals wrote to the parents to assure them of how we ensure something like that doesn't happen in our school, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot more dialogue was going on between teachers and principals and parents also. So in some way, I think it shed a very strong light on the industry, the early childhood industry, which again I emphasize one of the big things that surprised me as a parent is that none of these the early childhood industry is not regulated in the same way like MOE is regulated, right? It's much more, there's a set of standards, but generally each school is allowed to just run its own programs and do its own thing, right? Maybe I'm simplifying it a little bit, but generally that's what I find. So there's a very big disparity in how different schools do things. And Kinderlearn's not a cheap school either, it's not it's actually quite premium priced. So do you always get what you pay for? You don't know. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, and I remember when the news broke, it was because of the video, right?
Correct, yeah.
Because I'm sure if you read an account of it, it wouldn't have it won't carry the same weight, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we could see exactly what was happening was horrific. I don't think I finished watching the video.
Don't.
Yeah, because it's just like a defenseless child and all. But and the good thing is that there are a lot of measures that are happening next year, right? For these sort of
I think by mid next year, all schools, they need to have CCTV throughout the school, covering all angles of the school. Because even since then, there have been other cases of abuse that have been reported in the newspapers, of abuse of kids in preschools. Very, very harrowing to read the details of these things. And imagine that your own kids are in places like that and all.
Oh, there have been quite a few more cases?
I mean, even yesterday there was a case of a man who was molesting a 2-year-old child. Yeah.
Oh, 2-year-old?
2-year-old, yeah.
Was it the music teacher or no?
No, not a music teacher. This is the music teacher. I know which one you're talking about.
That's 11-year-old.
11. I'm talking about a 2-year-old toddler, yeah. And it's in the preschool itself. They didn't name which ones or anything. But it's just wow. It's you just gotta be really careful. Yeah.
Wow.
Right? Sometimes how you even be careful, right? Because you put your child in these places because you entrust the institutions, right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Other option is homeschool.
Yeah. Which, then it's another
Yeah.
bag of issues itself also, right?
Yeah.
Especially people who have their helpers take care of the kids and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a tough one. It's a very tough one.
Yeah. And I guess I'm not a parent yet, but in some way, like when you send your kid off, like what you said, there's a lot of trust that you have to
place in the system.
Place in the system.
Yeah. It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. And it's just I'm curious to see what would happen like next year when there are all those cameras installed. I'm guessing it's not going to be like the cameras at the MRT, where got like 5 different directions, all those big ass cameras. It'll just be regular CCTVs.
I suppose so. But there has to be something in place where they have to be recording, like 24/7. Yeah. And you got to keep the records for, I don't know, a week or something like that.
But you don't think it will hamper the ability of the teachers?
By right, it shouldn't, right? At the end of the day, it's like if you're in a public space and all that,
and handling other people's children.
Yeah, handling other people's children. If there's oversight, I think that should be expected, right? Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, that also, dark topic. But the next one, at least it's a bit more interesting. Not necessarily more interesting, but at least a little more lighthearted, right? I think the effects of it are not as
almost
egregious.
petty. Yeah. Almost petty.
But something we love to talk about. And that's episode 462. Long Island to be reclaimed of ECP, and Cai Png Cafe faces backlash for charging by weight. And this is almost like, it's quite interesting that this was one of the more listened to episodes or so, right? Yeah. But what was this about, this Cai Png Cafe?
It was about this cafe called 100 Grains, where they got a bunch of flack because, their whole business model is, it's a sit-down restaurant.
Yeah.
It's more like a cafe, right?
Yeah.
And in the middle, you have like trays of 42 different dishes. You go there, you take how much of the meat that you want, and it's all weighed. And then you are charged for it.
Yeah.
And every 100 grams costs $3.98.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are complaining because they will get them excited about the dishes.
Yeah.
And they go crazy. You can even take 1 spoon, you can take 10 spoons. And then their plate comes up to like $20.
Yeah.
And they get them pissed off because they say, how can Cai Png cost $20?
Yeah.
So in this case, right, the company was being damn transparent. But then still cannot.
Yeah.
Why?
No. So I think is something that we discussed on the episode, right? Where actually I didn't see the big issue with it because the company was being very clear that this is 100 grams is going to cost $3.98, right?
Yeah.
And it's laid out. It's laid out there. It looks like Cai Png on the surface, but at the end of the day, it's a restaurant. It's not like a sit-down kopitiam or something where you buy and then you have to find a place to sit. It's a restaurant with tables and seats and like Google reviews and everything, So it's kind of hard to expect that you go to eat this kind of place and then you think that you will be paying Cai Png prices.
But why do you think it was one of our more listened to episodes?
I think it's an interesting discussion, right? That some people do feel like if this kind of if it's advertised as Cai Png, which I think you rightly pointed out in your sleuthing, that you found that the early reviews coming from the food bloggers and all that literally called it Cai Png, right?
Yeah.
So if it's advertised as such, or at least that's how they've been going around telling people what it is, Cai Png, then it's false advertising because it's not really Cai Png. They charge by weight, and that's a very different business model from Cai Png. But I think some of our listeners also rightly pointed out in our comments that that's what they've been doing for mala, the mala xiang guo, the mala hot pot dishes. A lot of it is charging by weight, or even like when you think about what's the other dish? Yong Tau Fu. Yong Tau Fu also charges by item, right? And then the store owner already makes the calculation to cut your sausage into how many pieces, such that each sausage represents that's the maximum cost of materials that they are willing to bear when you take one item from them, right? So they've made their calculations, and it's up to you as the consumer to decide for yourself if that quarter of a sausage is worth paying for one piece lah. Because you get 7 pieces of Yong Tau Fu per thing lah, right?
Yeah.
You know? So I feel like maybe just that it's a newer business model, so people are getting used to it. And but transparency-wise, I thought it was quite transparent.
Then maybe it's because so if a company is transparent, like let's say even as a person, right? You can be as transparent as you want, but sometimes when you just focus on the facts, right? There might be your packaging might not be the best, lah, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, because after we did the episode, after looking at the people listening to the comments, maybe it's just because they didn't communicate it well enough, lah.
Explicitly, lah. Right?
Yeah, explicitly. And in some way, by not communicating it explicitly, it is how you say, there's almost like erosion of trust there also, right? Because you can go there, and I mean, I haven't been there. I want to go there, but maybe did they do all they could do to warn people that your cost is going up? I don't know. Maybe, right? So you have a core offering. You say you are transparent, but if there's still something that's hidden, right, that's also not the best, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So maybe they need like donkey levels of like 100 grams is $3.98 kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Signs everywhere.
Yeah.
Little mascot holding like 100 grams equals $3.98 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then you can say that they've done everything they can to be transparent.
Or maybe an option like when you wait before the end, you're like, hey, fuck, this is too much. Can you take out you put back?
Then that one will bring up like other issues lah. Like I think the SFA, the Singapore Food Authority, and all that will get
put
involved.
back.
Yeah.
Or maybe like you take it in bowls lah, right? And then you weigh the whole thing, and then if you don't want, then you just have to reject the bowl or something lah.
Yeah. Maybe. Or just have an angry auntie there to be serving
to
you.
Remind you lah. No, as you're picking, like, hey, you sure or not? It's not will cost you. Like just do like you're holding your plate. Also, just pick like visually, she can give an estimate lah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, then it'll create one more job for
Yeah, exactly.
Angry auntie. Yeah.
Angry auntie.
Yeah.
Angry auntie. Yeah, man.
But yeah. So that was number 2. But before we jump into number 1,
yes,
we want to just remind you guys that this episode was done in partnership with Lendela, right?
Yeah.
And I think one interesting thing about Lendela that we've realized from talking to them a lot is that the focus is on the making life easier for the customer, right?
Yeah.
And understanding that as in an Asian country, talking about taking a personal loan and everything can be a very touchy issue that can make you lose sleep, and make you really worry about things, right? And they understand that, and that's why a lot of what they're trying to do is to make it easier for you and to really focus on your experience as a customer, right? So I mean, like some of the things that they do, like they actually will have an actual human talking to you through this process, right?
Yeah.
They can have an actual human talking to you. They call it a customer relationship team.
Yeah.
And they'll serve you through the whole process and just guide you through something that might be quite unnerving the first time you're doing it. And we totally understand that process. And that's why we thought, okay, that's actually quite an admirable trait.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, one thing that I did wonder when we were first talking to them is like, okay, it sounds... Okay, you're offering this as a free service.
Yeah.
You are not the lender. You provide the human aspect of it, but how are you surviving as a business? And basically, that one also, they were open, is even on their website. If someone were to get a loan from one of the 40 credit lenders that are featured on their website, then they get a commission.
That means if you're matchmade,
if you're matchmade, and if the loan is dispersed, you get a commission.
It's like Indian matchmaking.
No, I was just going to say, when you say, probably.
It is,
Yeah, it's like Indian matchmaking. I mean, I think even anecdotally they refer themselves to themselves as Singapore's personal loan matchmaker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think matchmakers. Okay, so when I look at my mom and her friends who still sometimes dabble in matchmaking, that one got no commission lah. That one I think is street cred lah. But for Seema auntie from Bombay, I think that one confirm commission. Confirm. Yeah, but if they meet but they don't end up getting married, then you don't pay Seema auntie. You don't pay.
You don't pay.
You go to Lendela, you key in your details, they give you the end loan amount. If you don't want it, that's fine.
Yeah.
And they don't get paid.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So So I think the one thing is that, and we did speak to them, and they did say, the customer experience is a very important part of the offering. Because I mean, even when we were going through that whole shit show, it's not nice to just unload on friends also or family.
It's lonely,
it's damn lonely.
I always talked about this, like running your own business can be a very, very lonely feeling, right? Because only you know the ups and downs of it, and you can talk to other entrepreneurs and all, but every business has its own different challenges, right?
Yeah.
So it can be a very lonely thing, especially when it comes to taking a personal loan to cover any financial difficulties that you might be having at any point, right?
Yeah, correct. Or if you got a big milestone in your life, a big expense coming up, a loan, it's not say it shouldn't be talked about, right? I think loans right now, they kind of have like a stigma kind of thing, right? But in this case, if they provide you the info, it's ultimately your choice.
Yeah.
But at least you got the info.
Get more info. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, speaking of get more info, something that we are talking about this episode, which is about transparency and making sure that all the information is laid out, right, for consumers, especially from businesses. So what is the number one most at least most listened to episode where we are talking about this issue of
this one was quite surprising. It's episode 446, which is the episode with Seth Lui, and where there was this whole kerfuffle about a bakery being pinged by someone from his team, offering a spot in like one of their listicles, and charging for it.
Yeah.
I think it was 2.3K or something, right?
Yeah.
To be featured in a listicle that talked about, things you must try. And I think there was some element of them not being upfront that it will be a paid post.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of back and forth. I think Seth Lui himself came out and said, and defended it. But it was divisive because it just felt like they didn't think what they did was wrong. Right.
And there was this, I think there was a general message like, this is how the media industry operates. If you think that everything is like upfront and fully transparent, all that, then it's very naive.
Yeah.
But that's the general message that we were getting from, whether it's from Seth Lui himself or even some members of his team.
Yeah. And I think on social media, right, some of the comments, I think this was a screenshot of an alleged comment from him saying that if you're not happy, just say no, right? Why you have to post and why you have to almost not whistleblow, but share it with the media,
Yeah.
And I mean, since then, I think just like a few weeks ago, after that, other people came out also, like Daniel Food Diary, Makan Sutra, KFC to basically said, they don't do paid reviews, which I respect. I hope it's true. But like, did this kind of change how you look at listicles about food or like reviews or anything?
I mean, I really am very skeptical. Like when I go to a hawker center, and then some of them on the billboards, or at least the storefront, they have all these certificates of like, fine cuisine and blah 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 and all that. I'm always thinking to myself like, wow, if you spent all that money to actually print and laminate or even put it on the actual storefront itself, right, as part of the display, if you could pay for that, it like that money probably could have been used for something else in the business, right? And so to me, it really raises red flags when people like using those certificates and all for sort of like to show that they are good, right?
But what sort of displays you see, that would like look damn expensive or something?
No, I mean, like, let's say there's a certificate, but some of them it's literally printed as part of the
glass.
Yeah, on the glass on the storefront, the logo next to a logo and everything,
Oh,
so it's that big and that visible, and it had to go through a printing shop, right? A professional printer and everything to do. So for you to hang your entire business on that certificate tells me a lot about the business. And more often than not, like when I've bought from these places with that certificate, like I've not enjoyed the food very much.
Yeah.
So I am generally quite skeptical already of places that are, lauded by these food reviewers and all that.
But do you often Google for food recommendations,
I do. But I do the cross-check lah. Like I will Google, I'll read about it on some blog, then I'll go and check it on like Google reviews, or whoever else there's reviews lah, right? So just to make sure that there's at least it meets somewhere in between lah, where the blog says it's very good. Then you read Google reviews, and you must click on the most recent ones lah, or rank them by newest first lah, right? Then you see the latest reviews and you see whether they match up to what the blogger was saying.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like if I see something, I would just put it in Google, because it would throw up all the results across different pages, right? And if you see it appear on more than one food recommendation list, I would assume, okay like they can't be paying everyone, right? And there must be some merit there. I think one big thing that a lot of people pointed out, or at least was polarizing, was even if you're transparent, where are you putting that this is paid content? I think for some of Seth Louis' article, it was all right at the bottom, just as a footnote. Because even in our Reddit, some people said they actually don't have any issues with being like paid reviews, as long as people are upfront. Right. So I don't know, like now, I mean, one thing that I often see is like, let's say if I'm looking for some app that we need for podcasts, like, subtitling or something, I'll see, the best subtitling apps and all. Then it happens quite often where these apps themselves are written by a subtitler. Right? Then they will put themselves...
You mean the articles themselves are written by the app, someone employed by the app lah, basically.
As in, it's on the app website.
Yeah.
It'll be like an article, 10 best subtitlers. And they will be like number 2 or something like that. So that also feels like, it's not being the most transparent.
Correct.
Even for this episode, right? Imagine if we did this episode about transparency and we didn't talk about Lendela.
Yeah.
Right. Then it just feels like, no, I mean, we're hoping that just by being upfront, it also makes it more, we're not trying to cheat you or anything.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
So those were the 5 most, I would say, triggering episodes potentially, all this year.
But they triggered discussions about businesses and transparency and accountability, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
But the discussions also were triggered because people were triggered.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a triggering topic that triggered people and triggered discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the one thing that was consistent across all, which in some way was quite heartening, is that there's more and more attempts or more and more calls for companies and even individuals to be accountable, right? So another shout out to Lendela. One thing they pride themselves on is kind of doing the heavy work for that in terms of keeping the companies accountable. Because this whole lending thing, same way, like I was saying, some subtitle companies, they would post articles about the best subtitlers and put them there. I mean, sometimes you also see ads about the loan or loan providers or loan comparison, but then they might be from the lenders themselves. Right. So in this case, Lendela's not a loan provider. You go to their website, there's a bunch of FAQs, and I do believe their mission of keeping companies accountable and being the voice of the consumer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I mean, for us, as mentioned earlier, we're doing this in partnership with them because I think transparency was a big theme for us this year also, right? When we came out with our story and things as evidence, things that we've talked about on our podcast.
Yeah.
So this partnership has happened, and we want to show. We're hoping to show that that the people listening to this, they also care deeply about these issues that they hear. That's why they listen to it, right? And how you can really show and help us out is also by going to complete that little poll, right? The little survey that we're putting together for this, which there's some like a question or two about what you hear on this podcast, and some other things also, right? About your thoughts about Lendela's products and things, right?
Yeah. The link to the poll is in the show notes. It will honestly take you like 2-3 minutes max.
Yeah.
Right. And we we hope this episode is also something that jives with you. And yeah, if you could fill that up, you could help us out. You could help Lendela out. You could help our relationship with Lendela out.
And you could win $50 shopping vouchers.
Yeah, especially with Christmas coming.
Yeah.
Right? So we will announce the winners also in 2 weeks' time, which is just before Christmas. So it might even be like a good Christmas gift for those of you who haven't got gifts yet.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, all the details are in the show notes. Check Lendela out, show them some love, and yeah, help us answer the survey.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're not doing one Shiok comment because I think we've talked a lot about Reddit comments already on this episode. But we'll still do our one Shiok thing. And what is your one Shiok thing?
My one Shiok thing is this recent account that I found on TikTok called Keep the Meter Running.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
No.
It was, I mean, the main guy, so basically the premise is, it's a series of videos where there's one host who is a comedian from Instagram that I've been following for quite a while. His name is Kareem. So he would enter a New York taxi and just tell the taxi driver, take me to your favorite place and keep the meter running.
Oh, cute.
So it's like a TikTok documentary. And then they would pay him the meter. So at least they're not just like getting him to sacrifice his meter time. So then they end up, like, he'll interview this guy from who was born in China, came to New York when he was 10, and then they go to his favorite place, which is the casino at JFK. Then they interview this other guy, and he said his favorite place is this Russian restaurant. So then it's a mini documentary, and they just talk about the guy's upbringing, and it blew my mind as a concept. Especially in this day and age when you see so many of this, like, you know, feel good, kind of sit down on a chair in a well-lit room, people talking and getting emotional. This one, it's so watchable, man. And I think it's such a brilliant concept. It blew my fucking mind.
Where's it on YouTube or
TikTok?
TikTok. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a TikTok documentary, and it actually got a lot of coverage, even I think from the New York Times and all that. And the same guy hosts this other thing called Subway Takes. So it's like I'm packing it together because the accounts link to each other, and they got covered by New York Times, and they got so much traction, even Olivia Wilde. So this one, he just sits down next to people on the subway and ask them for their hot take.
I see.
So like one guy, one I saw was that he thinks, he doesn't understand why people freak out just before they die. Because if you're gonna, like, you know, go into the afterlife, you're gonna go in like happy. So once you know you're gonna die, you just accept it. You get shot, you just accept it. Which is a controversial take. Yeah. But I just thought the concept, wow, it's brilliant. So that's my Shiok thing.
Yeah. But what if they choose to go to a very far away place, like overseas or something? Like they drive from US to Canada.
No, I don't think. I think maybe it's like, take me to your favorite place
in continental America. And
And I mean, if it's too far, then you just step out, then we'll never see the video. But yeah, one camera guy sits in the back with the host, and then one camera guy sits in front with the driver. It's so brilliant. Oh, it blew my mind.
If they did it in Singapore, it would be called like keep the bus routes running. Because that's what people are trying to do. They're trying to
keep the bus routes running.
Keep the bus routes
Singapore, alive. The Singapore concept, like the equivalent. I mean, not to just rip them off. Because I don't know, but it just feels like, wow. Like what I liked about it is that it's so organic to New York. There's the taxi and the subway. I would love to do something like that in Singapore, but not just rip off the idea. But it's so genius. It's so genius. Yeah, what about you, man?
There was a trailer released for, a small game. It's called Grand Theft Auto 6.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, one of the, I think the best-selling games of all time. This is a follow-up to that, right, from GTA 5. GTA 6, Grand Theft Auto 6. Like, I think 2 days ago, they released the trailer. Now, at least on IGN, it's got like 3.5 million views. But a lot of people, even celebrities, all that have been commenting about the game, and people talk about how much sex and violence there seems to be in the game, and like, everyone's like starting a conversation, even just this small trailer, right? And so many people are looking forward to it, and just waiting to have adventures in that universe.
So they're saying it's too much sex.
Yeah. Because it's got like bikinis.
I mean, I watched that and I want to play the game.
It's probably drug dealing, everything, all that vice involved.
Exactly. I was thinking, how is this legal as a game?
It's legal. I mean, literally, like you shoot cops and everything in the game. That's what happens.
Crazy. And I think it broke the YouTube record for a non-music video in 24 hours. No, it got more than 100 million views.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It looks insane. It looks like a movie.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But it's also it's really a cultural thing, and it's only coming in 2025. It's not even 2024. So we're still a year and a half, probably a year plus away from it, but it's already generating so much buzz.
Shit, man.
So it's quite interesting. And someone did point out that that this game makes it shows that the PS4, they basically skipped the whole generation of console gaming with no new GTA game that was specially made for that console. Because PS3 had, I think, GTA 5, right? Then after that, it's just been re-releases or remasters and everything, all the way till GTA 6, which is already like PS5 really. They skipped the PS4 entirely, for example.
It's number one in trending in Singapore also.
Yeah.
116 million views 2 days ago.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if it came out during COVID or something just fill people's
I'm just thinking, what would be a Grand Theft Auto version, Singapore version?
Singapore? Oh. I mean...
Open MRT door.
Money launderer.
No, jumping out of the bungalow.
Oh, yeah.
Jumping out of the bungalow.
Then after that, jumping to an F1 car and then trying to evade the police.
Going to JB, at the causeway. Fucking get me out.
Traffic.
Out. But it will only be like 3 levels. 3 levels.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like in the corporate world or political world or something,
Maybe a bit more intriguing.
Yeah, the trailer looks insane.
Yeah,
man.
it looks fun, right?
Yeah, it looks crazy.
But yeah, that was our episode about the transparency.
The transparency episode.
Yeah, in 2023.
Yeah.
So again, let us know what you guys think about this episode, especially in the survey or in the comments on Reddit also. That's a good place to also talk about things.
Yeah.
And
first thing survey.
First thing survey,
Do the damn survey, man.
Do the survey.
Yeah. Once again, link is in the show notes. Please check Lendela out and follow us on social media. Share this podcast episode with someone if you enjoyed it. And email us if you want to work with us, man.
Contact@ministryoffunny.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.